Welcome everyone, and thank you for all for being here today. We also wanted to thank Way Up for hosting us. The topic for today's webinar is to learn more about how Viva is hiring, fostering, and engaging Black talent, and here at Viva, and opportunities that we have available for new grads. So first, I'd like to say thanks and welcome and introduce our panelists for today. We have Eric Sebriamo, who is our Chief Diversity Officer, Dana Felks, who is a practice manager on our MedTech services team, and Tyler Binion, who's an associate consultant in our consultant development program. So thanks to our panelists today. We also have Anka here, who is our director of CDP and will be a facilitator. So if you have questions on the back end, she'll be here to answer questions as well. I'm Sarah, and I oversee our new grad development programs here at Viva, collectively called Generation Viva. And like I said, we're so excited to have you all here today. Before we jump into the panel portion of it, there were several questions that were submitted, and thank you all for submitting questions. But there were several questions about what our company does and what roles we have available for new grads. So I just wanted to cover a few of those first. And then if there's more questions at the end, we'd be happy to try to answer those if we have time. All right, so at the core, Viva is a software company. We build innovative software for the life science industry. So what that means is that our end users who are using the software are generally people in the pharmaceutical industry, maybe a med device company, or maybe like a clinical trial organization. So if you can kind of wrap your head around what the industry we serve is. But today, Viva is more than just building products. We have a suite of products that are really integrated together. We have data that provides our customers with the insights they need to do their job more effectively. We have an in-house services team who implements our products to ensure they are used correctly and highly adopted. And then we have a business consulting organization that helps our customers look at the overall picture of their commercial strategy and operations, and essentially how they can operate more efficiently. So what else makes up Viva? Our customers, obviously, we have over 1,100 globally, with the most of the top pharma companies that you would all know, in your household names that you would recognize. Our people make up Viva. We have over 5,000 employees today globally, and we have a goal to get to 10,000 by 2025. So we like to start a lot of our calls off with our vision and values. Our vision is to build the industry cloud for life sciences. So what that means is we want to build great software, data, and business consulting services to help our customers, as I said earlier, operate more efficiently, but also really to connect them to their most important stakeholders, that may be those clinical research sites or doctors or even patients, like yourselves. Our values are really the most important most important things we use to make our decisions at Viva. Do the right thing reminds ourselves about moral and ethical decision-making. Next is customer success, which is top priority for us. We think of customer success at 3 levels: our customers, the success of the individuals at our customers, and the industry as a whole. Employee success. So what you're going to hear today is really just an example of employee success at Viva. We're aiming to create the right work environment for our employees, for their development and ultimately their careers. And then finally, speed. Speed is really an advantage for Viva. As you may have seen on the previous slide, we started in 2007. So we were a startup then, and we want to continue operating like a startup. And we want to be able to continue to be nimble and responsive to the industry and what they need, and to be able to pivot when we need to. Last but not least, you may have seen on the previous slide and on this side, we are noted as a public benefit corporation. So as Viva has continued to play a more important role in our industry to develop and commercialize drugs, right? We want to be more formally aligned to our value-based approach and how we operate with our company's certificate of incorporation. So what that means is that we were the first public company to convert to a public benefit corporation, and that actually happened just in February of this year. So it was a super exciting time for us and for Viva. A little bit more about what that means. It means that we have a public benefit purpose now. And what that is, it's to help make the industries we serve more productive and to create high quality employment opportunities. So in a nutshell, we have a legal obligation now not just to balance the interests or not just for our shareholders, but to balance the interests of our shareholders with our customers and our employees, and then the communities in which we operate. So it was something we were really, really proud of. And it just shows, how we are continuing to align with Viva's goals and Viva's values. All right, a little bit more about Generation Viva. I know you all were excited to hear about what opportunities we had available for new grads. So in the US, we have 4 different programs today. So I'm actually going to start with the one on the top right, our Engineering Development Program, also known as EDP. So this program is dedicated to developing new grads into well-rounded software engineers who build our products. They're coders, right? We have EDPers in several hubs across the US. So if I think of all of them, we have them in the Bay Area, Boston, Columbus, Ohio, Raleigh, Indianapolis. We're starting a new hub in Kansas City this summer. And then we also have them in Toronto, Ontario as well. This role, along with all of our Generation Viva roles, I wanted to point out that you are going to be integrated fully into the teams, the business from day one. Specifically for EDP, we're looking for those who have fundamentals and experience pretty much that you would gather in a computer science major. Don't have to be a computer science major, but you need those basic fundamentals that you would gain in a computer science major. Next, we have our Consultant Development Program, also known as CDP. There are the folks who implement, these are the folks who implement our products. Our EDPers build it, CDPers implement it. So they're customer facing. I want to be very clear, it does not require coding. It is a more technical consulting role, right? But does not require coding. You're going to learn the basics of Consulting 101, software implementation, project management, industry knowledge. For this one, we're open to all majors. So there was some questions about, do I have to be a STEM major, or do you have openings for non-STEM majors? This is one of them, along with our other ones that I'm about to talk about. This program also has tracks into sales and product management. So if you think long-term, you want to go into sales or product management, this may be the program for you. Specifically, you can work anywhere in the US from home, and then note that you'll be expected to travel to customer sites as needed for this role. The next one is our Business Consulting Development Program, also known as BCDP. This is our newest of the 4 programs that actually launched this summer. We had our inaugural class start this summer. These consultants are also customer facing, maybe a little less technical, more focused on like the strategy, business operation, and process focused for the commercial side of pharmaceutical companies. Right now we have openings in the Northeastern US. We're trying to kind of base them in hubs around Philly, New York, and Boston. We are open to all majors, but this one specifically, ideally you would have some sort of maybe internship in consulting, or maybe working with a pharma company that would make you kind of stand out a little bit more and be more competitive for this role. Lastly, our Analytics Development Program, also known as ADP. So to give you some background, there's folks, what these roles do, they deliver marketing data insights to the brand marketing teams in pharma companies. So what that really means, and just to give you an example, you see a drug advertised on TV, right? That brand team in the pharma company who's responsible for the advertising, they need to know if it reached the right audience. And our data, we have a proprietary data platform, essentially, that plus the analysts who are behind it are able to tell that brand marketing team in the pharma company about the information and the insights to help make their brand strategy better. We have a few different roles within ADP. We have more back-end roles that are a little bit more technical. So if you think about the slicing and dicing of the data, data cleansing, want to work with really big data, excuse me, that might be a role for you. We also have front-end analytics roles, so the storytellers of the data, right? So if you're interested in data analytics, that might be a path for you. So this one specifically, though, is in New York City. So your office based in our New York City office. Lastly, there were several questions about sponsorship. At this time, we do have a limited number of openings within our engineering development program. So for our associate software engineering roles that we're able to sponsor visas, that is the only one. These are specifically for those with a master's degree in computer science. And I guess just to let you know, to be competitive, you probably want to be closer to that 3.5 GPA for that role. Here at Viva, we believe that diversity brings forth diverse perspectives, new ideas, and really is able to fuel innovation. We have established 4 diversity communities at Viva, and these are all employee-led communities that are actively involved in Viva's efforts to grow a diverse workforce, raise awareness and regarding social issues, and celebrate, the cultures and backgrounds that really make up who we are. We wanted to give new grads like yourselves an opportunity to hear from members specifically of our Viva Black community to learn more about how Viva thinks about hiring, fostering, and engaging Black talent from their perspectives. So that being said, I'd love to just jump into the panel portion of this. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right, so Dana, Tyler, Seb, welcome again. So I'm just gonna start with a general question. I'd love to know, or let the panel, the audience know more about you, your background, and really what's contributed to the most to making you the person you are today. So I'd love to start with Tyler.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Tyler Binion. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, however, spent about 4 to 5 years in North Carolina. So I was in North Carolina to get my schooling, so education. So I got my business degree at Bennett College, which is an HBCU, and then I went to Duke University's Fuqua School of Business and got my degree in management. So for me, I guess I could say that my background so far is in business. So it's funny because we just discussed this is a software company and I'm a consultant, so not really life science based or technical based. I think that's just something to say that shows you the welcomeness and openness to this company, but more so about what I feel like has led me to where I am today. I'd have to say, one is just being open to opportunities. While I was an undergrad in grad school, I really didn't cut out opportunities. If there was anything to really propel me to the next level or give me an opportunity to either take a course or, travel or speak or, just anything that I felt like was going to better myself professionally and personally, I always took on those opportunities. Something else that I think has really helped me become who I am today is really having a drive for excellence. It's not about being perfection or being perfect, but it's really about doing the best that you can in all situations. So I think that has allowed me to gain more positions, to gain opportunities aside just from being here at Viva, but just, in general in my life and in school, just always trying to do the best that I can in any situation. And then lastly, something that is funny to me in the background or, in my mind is that I always take on the opportunities that are going to be the most challenging. Sometimes I'm like, okay, why did I do that? This is really hard. But I think that's something also that has led me to where I am today, seeing a role or seeing something that seems really challenging and really scary. I acknowledge that it's scary, but I go for it and take it anyway, because I think that's where you're going to grow and that's where you're going to get the most development. So that's what I'd have to say are the 3 things that I think have made me who I am today and, taken me to this position right now.
Excellent. Yeah. Just face challenges head on, right? All right. Excellent. Thanks. Let's go with Eric next. So Eric, tell us a little bit about your background and, what you feel like has contributed the most to making you who you are today.
Hey, everyone. I'm going to struggle to follow Tyler's answer because that's a great answer. My name is Eric Sabriano. I'm Viva's Chief Diversity Officer. I've been with Viva a little over 10 years. And if I had to pick one thing that's really shaped me, and it's taken me some time to figure out what it was, but I grew up being exposed to a lot of different cultures, different countries, learning new languages as a child. I'm originally from a small country in Africa, and I've spent some time there in Europe before settling in the US. And I really didn't think or realize how much that's shaped me, but it got me really used to being new at things and even made me kind of seek new things out. I get bored really easily. And that's really shaped the way I live my life, but also the way I've navigated my career. And Viva wasn't my first job. I had roles at previous companies before this in the tech industry or tech adjacent. And I was miserable at those jobs because they weren't letting me try things. They weren't putting me in scary situations. They weren't giving me opportunities to stretch and grow. And when I landed at Viva, it was the complete opposite. I was given those opportunities even if I didn't want them. And it, you know, kind of figuring out that origin story, so to speak, it has fueled that in me. As long as I'm in the right environment, it's made me seek those opportunities out, even in my personal life, more so than I would. So it's less of a passive thing now, and I'm pretty active in the way that I do it. And it's very much shaped my career, where I am today, and will continue to do so. But it's even gotten me into things like, you know, being 39 years old and picking up skateboarding, just because it'd be fun to do with my son. So that's my story.
Yeah. I can. How many years have you been at Viva, Eric?
10 years now.
10 years. So I'm going to put words in your mouth. I'm going to guess not a week has gone by that you haven't been challenged or just had to think, outside of your comfort zone a little bit at Viva, because I feel like I could say that.
Yeah, that'd probably be a fairly accurate statement. And even if I had a slow week, then the week prior was probably pretty crazy.
Yeah, keeps us on our toes. Exactly. Excellent. Thank you, Eric. All right, Dana, same question for you. Tell us a little bit about you and what's contributed to making you the person you are today.
So hi, everyone. I'm Dana. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I currently live in Delaware. I've been here for about 3 years, so not far from where I grew up. I've been with Viva for about 4.5 years. Started here as a senior consultant, kind of thinking about the consultant development program that Sarah mentioned. Pretty much when you graduate out that program, you move into my type of role. And I've been promoted a couple of times, and now I'm a practice manager. I actually manage a group of consultants here for one of our key applications. When I think about what contributed to my success, I kind of just think about how I started. So I went to Penn State. For any of the Penn Staters on the call, I majored in electrical engineering there. I will say that the biggest challenge I remember being in school and just also early in my career was when I think about diversity inclusion is inclusion. Oftentimes I wasn't always, for example, included being like the only female and only woman, Black woman as well in my classes, and a lot of, like, for example, lab work and group work. So oftentimes I had to kind of figure out, how to do things by myself. So while that was frustrating in my younger career, I actually built a really great skill, which I'm known for at Viva, for being able to kind of, take on new challenges and figure out new things, and also never giving up as well too. I think that's also another great thing that just from all of those difficulty early on to kind of grow with. And for me, it's been the complete opposite here at Viva. I feel like I'm always included. I feel like my presence is important. I don't think my color of my skin matters at all when I'm communicating. I'm valued, I'm listened to. I'm just, like everyone else said, I'm challenged. I'm given regular feedback, about things that I can improve on. So it's been definitely the, opposite experience compared to when I kind of first starting out. But while I'm frustrated with that, right, I'm really happy that it happened, because I really wouldn't have built the skills that I have now if it didn't.
Perseverance. I like it. Thank you, Dana. All right. So let's go with Tyler, specific question for you. So as a Black new grad who recently went through the process of finding your first job, can you tell us maybe some of the challenges you faced in that process?
Yeah, so I'd say prior to figuring out or finding out about Viva, the challenges that I faced the most was, one, not having enough experience. I feel like that was something, and maybe people on the call might relate, just having a job that, says, oh, we're looking for entry level people, we're looking for people with, a certain amount of skills, but then when you apply, figuring out or finding out you don't have enough skills, or you haven't been in a specific industry for long enough. So that was something that I really faced, or I was challenged with, just not having enough experience in certain roles that I was applying for. And the roles I was applying for were more so marketing or project management. So I think with those roles specifically, they might want more like on the job experience. Something else that was challenging to me is, so I was receiving my grad degree in 2020, and I was about to graduate in May of 2020. So there's a pandemic that started. So that was challenging as well, because a lot of interviews that I had were canceled or deferred. So that was just something I think that's going to be, or that was really unique to my experiences, that I'm doing these calls, I'm having these meetings, but then we have something globally that disrupts the process. And then lastly, I know this is going to be kind of contradictory to my first statement, but lastly, I cut off some roles, or I said I didn't want to apply for certain roles. And I think that was challenging for me also. So I initially was like, okay, I don't want to do consulting. I don't want to apply for consulting roles. I'm at this really competitive school. Everyone wants to do consulting. It's too hard. Grad school is kicking my butt. My head hurts. I need something chill. So I just wrote that off. But, you know, in reality, I think that cut me off from some opportunities that I could have pursued, or, you know, had opportunities to try, just because, you know, I had some skills. I was learning business. I had a lot of relevant experience. So I think that was the challenge that I faced in those, cutting off opportunities or cutting off like specific roles because I thought I couldn't do it, or I thought it would be too hard. Like I said, contradictory. And then also just, you know, feeling like I didn't have enough experience, or being told I didn't have enough experience.
Yeah, those are all good points. And then I guess in addition, or just expanding on that, can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, ultimately it sounds like you found a consulting role, right? So can you tell us a little bit how you found that consulting role? Why did you decide to continue to go down that track, and tell us about your interview process here at Viva, and, you know, ultimately why you chose Viva?
Yeah, so it was getting close. It was about April, and it was getting close to graduation. So I'm sure, you know, like once it gets close to graduation, everybody's kind of running around trying to find a job so they can say that and kind of have that off their checklist. So I began to think, okay, maybe I need to be open enough to consulting again. So I started to think, okay, I need to not cut that off of my, you know, looking for jobs type thing. I need to be open. So was just looking on a website on our Duke like career hub, and I saw Viva. It said associate consultant. Now initially I did grimace. I was like, oh no, here we go. But I just was like, okay, they said it's virtual or remote. They're open to all majors. So I was like, this sounds like something interesting. Like as soon as I hear a role that says they're open to majors and it's, you know, a development program, that interests me, because it lets me know first and foremost, I don't have to come to the table with all the knowledge and all the experience necessary. They're trying, a company like that is trying to develop me. So that was my first interest. Like, okay, it's a development program. I don't have to be perfect. And so as I applied for the role, you know, I immediately heard back from a recruiter. So that was another sign, like this is a responsive company. They really are interested in hiring people. So then next, as I continued through the interview process, which was really unique to me, it wasn't just, you know, one interview with someone. It was several interviews, not only with, you know, the manager, but I interviewed with different people, like a consultant in my role. I actually had like a candidate interview. So a candidate exercise, so where you actually get to work with the product. So with all that being said, it really felt like it was a detailed process. They weren't just hiring people and trying to fulfill a need. It was really so they're invested in, you know, getting the best people for the role. So I think ultimately what made me choose Viva as opposed to other companies, was just the fact that I knew, and it seemed like they were really invested in developing me. I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to have everything, but as long as I feel like I had the feeling or the need to want to be excellent, to want to work, to want to do well, and want to learn, I think that's what they wanted, and that's what I had. So I was like, okay, you know, I don't know a lot about this industry. I don't know a lot about tech, but I know I want to work really hard, and I know I want to do the best that I can. So let's go for it. So that is ultimately why I chose Viva.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And we're glad that you're here. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
All right. Dana, I want to shift gears to you for a minute. As a Black woman who's in a manager position, right? So you're responsible for leading the people and the delivery really of our MedTech services teams. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got where you are today in your career, maybe some of the challenges that you faced early on, and really how you overcame them?
Yep. So it's interesting when around the time when I graduated college, and also when I was looking at internships, it was right around after 9/11. So, you know, the economy was bad. A lot of jobs were laying off, reducing hiring. So honestly, I had a hard time, you know, finding a job. I ended up working at a mall and doing temp work with an engineering degree, you know, honestly, in there. And, you know, I lucked out with one of the temp jobs where I started to worked with a life sciences company, Merck in particular, helping them process, rebate programs. Back then it was a lot of paper type of process. And I enjoyed a love for working with customers. I got to work with Merck directly on help setting up their new programs. But I started to miss the technology. My experience was always math, science, engineering. And that role didn't have a lot of that. So I decided to apply for consulting, software technical positions, and landed in those roles and really been doing it ever since I joined Viva here. So it's interesting that, just kind of think to you guys how you think about where you're going to start out and that path when you're, graduating school, that it may be a little bit different, but, never give up, because it's always, always there for sure. It happens.
Excellent. And then you maybe kind of alluded or answered this question a little bit earlier in your intro, but I'd love to just specifically talk about how you think maybe Viva has contributed to your success and where you are today.
Definitely the mentoring, for sure, both by like my boss and as well as some of the, team members and working with the team. Like I said, I came in helping with a new product line. And I was given kind of full autonomy to, try new things, get the system up and running and implement it in that role, with the team. So that was really great, to the point where, as like I said, I got promoted as well to be principal consultant. And then, again, wanted to challenge me more as, they liked how much I coached my team members, some of the junior team members, thought I would be, take the challenge of being a manager. And I took on that role. So I really loved how they kind of helped support me, but also gave me the independence to, really just make decisions and lead the teams and help support the teams and give me new opportunities of things I never, did before and wasn't even honestly thinking about. If you asked me a year ago if I would be a manager here, I probably would have said not. Even if they wanted me, I probably would like, maybe not. But, I like that they pushed me and challenged me and thought that was something that, I could do.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like throw you to the fire, but we're going to give you the support you need to be successful and
exactly
out of that, right? Excellent. Thank you, Dana. Okay, Eric. So taking a little bit of a shift here, but in response to, the events that happened in the last year or so, I guess, much of society and several businesses and corporations have prioritized focus on how we can do better, right? So can you share with us some of the things that Viva's done in the last year or so to demonstrate our commitment to fostering this culture of inclusion here?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with maybe why we weren't doing it before that. And I think, what Sarah mentioned earlier of having that kind of startup small mindset was really the driver behind it. We were also laser focused on helping our industry, helping our customers. And we're still very focused on our teams and making sure that we built an environment where people could do their best work. But we didn't have the focus or the intention specifically around diversity and inclusion. So, we had an awakening moment, just like everybody else did, after the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And maybe, being stuck at home during the pandemic helped us have that introspection. So the first thing we did was launch the communities that Sarah showed you earlier. And really that was in an effort to do a couple things. Representation, as Dana alluded to earlier, is huge, right? So there are a lot of members of our teams, myself included, that have spent a good chunk of their careers being the only one in the room, right? Me being the only Black man in the room, or Dana being the only Black woman in the room. So building communities where you can spend time with, network, and collaborate with people that look like you, have your same lived experience, was really important. And that's the first thing we did. But we didn't just kind of create the communities and let them do their thing, right? There was a lot of empowerment to amplify those voices and ask, hey, now that you're together, think about what we should be doing better. What are we not realizing? What do we have blind spots to? And very quickly, we shifted some of our talent attraction efforts to include areas where we weren't looking, or look for talent that we just weren't as focused on. So doing things that maybe we probably always thought was a good idea, but just didn't have the resources or the focus or intention towards. And also having more dialogue internally. So you're all really lucky that you're going to start work in an environment where you can have very transparent, open conversations about race, gender, all types of stuff, right? Like just real topics. Not that long ago, you never spoke about that stuff at work. And when you don't speak about it, I think it was in an effort to be polite and not exclude anyone, but it didn't foster inclusion. So I'm really happy that we're having company-wide chats, smaller chats, and it's kind of just opening people up. And it's creating that environment where you can truly be your full self at work and not worry about it, because what matters is how hard you work and the work that you do, not how you dress or what have you, right? So you can celebrate your culture and still be an A player on your team. So inwards was kind of our focus, but also looking to broaden our talent pool and grow from there. And a lot of raising awareness and education, both formally and informally.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for leading those efforts. I mean, I know that I've participated in them and I've learned so much, I feel like, in the last year. So yeah, thank you for leading those efforts. All right. So Tyler, circling back to you, I want to continue the story that you were actually telling a little bit ago. So you talked about how you got to Viva, why you chose Viva, but now I want to learn more about, what it's been like since you've been at Viva, right? Like, did we meet your expectations? Can you share your experience and what's a day in the life like here for you?
Yeah. So the first question, did you meet my expectations? I'd have to say yes. And, a little, I expected to be challenged. And I think that was something that I knew, but, when you're in that challenging experience, you're like, whoa, can I do this? Is this something that I'm able to do? And I have to say, like, first and foremost, whether or not you feel fearful about something or you don't feel like you can do it, I think we all have echoed that Viva really provides you support. I think that's something that really is important. We are, given opportunities to really put ourselves out there and, try, but we also have the support. We have like a group behind us that's going to provide us with the skills, tools, and knowledge to do the best we can. And I think that's something that I've, experienced since starting here. So I could say like the day in the life really can vary. For me specifically, I've had the opportunity to not only be a consultant, which means working with customers and implementing, products that they're purchasing on the commercial side, but also I had the opportunity to rotate in another team. So it's called the CSM team, and I've had the opportunity to do that. So not only am I learning my current role, which is an associate consultant, and learning how to be a consultant, learning how to figure out an issue and find a solution or to configure a solution, but also I got the opportunity to tell specific customers what are the best things that they should use based on their company and their business processes. And then on top of that, while still being a consultant, I've had the opportunity to rotate or be an apprentice for another team at Viva. So my role here so far hasn't really been just one straight line. I've had the opportunity to delve into different teams, which I think is super important because it doesn't just keep you bottlenecked to a certain role, and it allows you to meet with different people. I've gained so much knowledge, not knowledge that I would gain, I guess, from being an associate consultant, but just from knowledge from different teams, which has made me, I feel like, overall a stronger consultant, because I can go to someone from a team that, we might not necessarily speak to on a daily basis, but because I foster that relationship, I'm able to have some conversations that someone might not necessarily know. Oh, this is the person that you should speak to. And I think that's really what my experience has been, just not going on a straight path, but having the opportunity to do other things, speaking up, being challenged. And also something that I feel like I really learned is, yes, I'm going to be, asked to do things that are really scary or I don't think I'm, ready for, but letting people know like, okay, I'm going to do it. They're going to provide the support. And that's something that I've experienced consistently throughout my time here at Viva, is that, yeah, it's going to be challenging, but you're going to have the support. You're not alone, and you can do it because you're here for a reason.
Yeah. Super common theme here at Viva, right? Like we're going to stretch you. You may not want to do it. You may be scared, but we think you can do it and we're going to support you. Right. So yeah. I think a lot of people probably have been in your shoes here, Tyler, and thanks for being flexible. Right. I mean, some people may not want to come in. They want to come in and just do their role and hire to do this role. And I think it's really cool that we have people like you who are coming in with an open mind and flexible and want to learn new and different things. Right. So So that's really great. Maybe just one more question on a similar note there, but can you talk about a little bit of the ways that you have felt welcome in your first year at Viva?
Yeah, so I say the first thing that made me feel welcome was when I just joined Viva like a month or two after I figured out or found out that I was like staffed on my first project. So that was a huge welcome because it felt like, okay, even though I'm new, Viva believes in me and wants to utilize me. They believe that I can be an asset to a project. And, even though I'd only been here for, not that long, feeling like I was welcomed into the team and being given an opportunity like that was really something that made me feel like, okay, yep, I'm here. I'm an employee. I'm not just doing onboarding activities. I was, but it's not just the main thing that I'm here. They trust me. They believe in me. And, I just felt really, really welcomed on that sense. And then I'd say another reason or another way I felt welcome is just the onboarding process in general. It's really robust. It's not like you just come in and they're like, here's your work, here's your desk, this is what you do. I mean, of course, we're in a virtual working environment, but it felt like it was really something that they wanted us to learn more about Viva. So we learned about Viva, we learned about the product. I think every week we get like welcome emails for the new hires. So that was something when I saw my name and it said Tyler Binion is a new hire on the specific team. That was something that was welcoming. So just the overall onboarding experience and knowing that you're going to have specific people to talk to, if it's about your benefits, if it's about, specific to your role, you're going to have those people to talk to, and we're going to give you all the materials that you need to feel welcome and feel like you're a part of our job and a part of our team. And then lastly, I think the thing that spoke most to me about feeling welcome is I felt welcome to share with my manager about an idea I wanted to have. So me and two other women who joined Viva in October during my class really felt like we wanted to create another community specifically for young Black professionals to get together to learn about things that are of interest to us or that could really help us. So we created Young Black Professional series, and that is something that made me feel welcome the most because even though it was something that hadn't been done before, people listened to me and people were welcome to that idea and allowed us to do that and continue on. So that is like the last thing that I think has stuck to me because you really feel like you have the opportunity to do things and to speak up and to make an impact at your job. And that's something that really spoke to me and really is something that I can't forget that I've had an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. I've always said that I feel like our best ideas come from the CDPers or new grads that join our company, right? Like that was a great idea. That's the way that our new grad development programs, I feel like, continue to expand and innovate because people like you come in and have new fresh ideas. And we're like, gosh, we haven't thought of that. Yeah, that's a great idea. So yeah, thanks for speaking up and coming forward with the idea. And now it sounds like it's, gone really well, and I'm glad to hear it. All right, let's see. Dana, I'm going to circle back to you now. So let's talk a little bit more maybe about the hiring front. So as a manager, you have a role in growing and developing talent at Viva. Can you share with us some of the ways in which you do this?
Yep. So for me, just think about diversity and inclusion. That's really important to me. We're responsible. We're working with different customers who have different needs. Sometimes unique needs on how we have to address those items. So to me, it's really important to have like a diverse team with comprehensive viewpoints, with different experiences, different backgrounds, to just really bring different ideas to the table. If everyone is kind of thinking the same thing, you're kind of limiting yourself on how successful you may be able to address their items. So I think inclusion, diversity is really important there. So I try to make sure that in terms of my actual team members that I'm allowing them to, with that said, allowing them to be able to come up with ideas, have a very open dialogue, whether we're in group meetings or one-on-ones, if they have ideas, making sure that they're heard, they're listened to, and I'm fully supported. They have autonomy to run with those and knowing that I will always be there for them to support them. And if it doesn't work out well, completely fine. We'll just take the lessons learned and know how to apply it next time around. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is really just allowing people the autonomy and to present their ideas, to kind of echo what Tyler said. We definitely encourage that a lot here in management teams. And then in terms of looking for new talent, I'm looking for those skill set, people who are, really open to new challenges, excited to do different things, want to bring different viewpoints in addition to the kind of like the technical skills into the system.
Excellent. Thank you, Dana. All right. And then Eric would like to come back to you and kind of focus a little bit more on what you're doing here for us at Viva. So you talked about, what we've done and why we did it, but can you share a little bit about, forward thinking plans for, how you think the diversity communities intend to continue building this diverse and inclusive place to work here at Viva?
Yeah. So you've heard each of us talk about how Viva has allowed us to try things and stretch ourselves and maybe change our minds and try other things. And that's because Viva is like that. And our diversity and inclusion efforts are going to be very similar, right? So we have a vision of where we want to go. We want to grow a diverse team, global team, because we know that diverse teams are stronger. Inclusive teams perform better. It's where people feel like they can speak up, be themselves, do their best work. And they feel that trust. They feel safe to come to the table with new ideas and perspectives. How we get there is by iterating, right? By trying things and seeing how it's going and listening to people and then either pivoting or leaning into something that's working. So the big thing that we're going to keep doing is keeping what a book that I'm reading now calls an infinite mindset. Because diversity and inclusion is not a journey that has a finish line. So this is something we're going to be doing forever. For as long as Viva's around, we're going to be focused on this because it weaves into everybody doing their best work and being the best team member they can be, whether you're a manager or starting out your career or what have you. So keeping that growth mindset and that mindset that this is a journey that we're going to walk towards a vision that we have and we know the direction we want to go, but we're not looking for it to end because it's going to continue to evolve. But thinking more near term, most of our efforts have really been US focused. And I apologize if you hear screaming in the background. My kids just got home. Have been US focused. And that's not to say that our European, Asian, and Latin American colleagues are not a part of some of our activities. But if you think about the social causes we've been talking about, the social awareness that we've been propping up, some of it mostly has a US lens. So we're going to be looking to Europe and Asia Pac and Latin America to figure out what are the things that we need to focus on in those regions that are specific to them. And that is because diversity and inclusion is important everywhere, but it looks different in different places, right? So there may be more of a need to have intention and focus in different topics in Asia, for example, than you would in Brazil. So we're going to look to expand globally. We're going to look to expand our communities, but we're also going to keep doing some of the things we're doing now, which is challenging ourselves from a talent attraction perspective, continuing to foster inclusion from within, continuing to develop training that helps our team members and our managers understand the value of diverse teams and why it's important and why it makes us stronger, and understand that things like unconscious bias and microaggressions are counter to that and have tactics and tools that they can use to leverage to counter them. And also to empower people to be able to speak up and bring forth new ideas like what Tyler mentioned, because that's ultimately what makes somebody feel safe and feel like they can come to work and do their best work, is having that voice that's heard and valued, even if it's completely different to everyone around them. So that's my short answer for what we'll be doing long term.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. It's not like you just finished the year out and you're like, check, like we did it all, right? There's always going to be room to grow and evolve it. So I love that Viva's on that path. So excellent. And we got a lot to do still, right? And I'm glad that you're leading the charge. All right. So we are going to wrap this up with, we'll wrap it up with Q&A at the end, but I'd love to just get some final advice. And I think it's interesting with all the different perspectives, right? Like Tyler, who just started, Dana, who's in a manager position and been here for a few years. Seb, you've been here for 10 years. You've worked with new grads all along the way, right? So I'd love for you all to give some advice to those on the call, right? As as a young Black new grad who's looking to start and grow their careers, what is the advice that you would have for the folks on the call? Maybe let's start with Seb. Eric.
Yeah, sure. So the thing I didn't realize when I was first looking for work was how important culture is and the identity of an organization. I really was just focused on getting a job and paying off some student loans, which is great, right? I mean, you have to pay bills. But if you're interviewing or looking at organizations, figure out ways where you can get to know them a little bit better. So the one thing Tyler shared was interviewing or talking to potential peers. That's a big one, right? And also, as you're going through the interview process, be an interviewer too. Ask questions, kind of try to tease out, what they value, what they look for in candidates, and see if you can figure out whether you can see yourself living there for a while. Because the place you work could end up being the place you spend 90% of your time for the next X years. So it's important to feel comfortable there and feel like this is a place where I can probably stretch and grow if I put in some hard work. So try to figure out what their culture is, but don't fall for just the buzzwords that are on the website, right? Like try to hear it from somebody who actually knows. And they may not give you direct answers, but I think you can get a sense from it, if you talk to enough people and try to figure out what they're about and how they feel about the organization.
Great advice. Thanks, Eric. All right, Dana, I'd love to hear your advice.
And just to confirm, kind of new grads, kind of preparing for the workforce. I would definitely say, do your research. Just kind of, I found that with growing up in school, you just only hear about those traditional roles of engineer, doctor, lawyer, and there's just so many different avenues of careers that you can go. So definitely, dive into and kind of just explore different options. And then, look for those, companies that, match your values. That's definitely something I didn't do in the beginning. It was kind of like whoever can give me a job. And sometimes that might be the case. But if you have the opportunity to really just, find a company that you can relate to, have your values to, I definitely recommend doing that. And be okay if, failure is not a bad thing. Failure makes you stronger, make you grow. Like I said, I worked at the mall graduating. So, those things happen, but you will definitely come out being a stronger person at the end if you've, had those failures. So never be stressed or upset about failures. They're good things to me, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's the saying? If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you for all the insights today. All right, Tyler, last but not least, as a recent new grad, what is your advice for the new grads on the call today?
Yeah, I'd say just to finish it off, I think something I've learned is really take on the opportunities that are going to challenge you the most and stretch you the most. I know that sounds really scary, sounds hard, but do it. You really will be happy with yourself to know that you took on something that has given you the skills and, knowledge that you might not have gotten if you chose an easier opportunity. Not to say that you shouldn't choose those, but my advice is to choose those that are going to challenge you and give you experience and the knowledge that's going to propel you to the next level. And then also don't count out an opportunity because you think you're not ready for it, or you think you don't have enough, knowledge or skills. Just try. The worst they can say is no. So go for it, see what happens. But, learn from me and don't just cut out an opportunity because who knows, that might be the next thing for you anyway. That might be the next, thing you need to pursue.
Yeah, excellent advice. I'll just, not that anyone asked, but I had a situation. It was right here at Viva where I interviewed for a manager position, and I knew I wasn't quite ready. I wasn't quite there. I think the person who recommended that I do it knew I wasn't quite there, and I didn't get the role. But guess what? Like, that prepared me so much more for the next time that I interviewed for that manager position, and the next time I got it, right? Like, and it also gave the people who were, I guess, in management positions awareness that, like, I'm interested. I raised my hand the first time. So yeah, it's like, it kind of goes back to the failure part, so you learn from it, try it, don't be afraid of it. I think that's all really, really good advice. So yeah, thank you so much, Tyler.
Yeah, you'll never be ready for the next.
Yeah.
So you just have to do it.
Yeah,
And then you'll figure it out. Work hard, be willing to be afraid and stressed out for a while, and then you may find that you're really good at it, or you may find that now you know what you don't want to do, and you'll try something else.
Yep. Yep. You're going to learn a lot about yourself in the first couple of years in your first professional career. All right. So we do have a few minutes to open up to live Q&A. I don't know if Anka, we have any questions.
We definitely have one good question that Eric might be able to take on. I've answered all of them. Seb, I don't know if you can see the Q&A bar from Paolo. If not, I can read it out.
Give me a second, let me read it.
So while you're reading it, Eric, we can read it out loud. So he's saying, and recognizing it could be a tough question to tackle, but how do we deal with or respond to the cynicism that is often directed towards diversity efforts in industry nowadays? And does that cynicism make diversity initiatives more complex or difficult to design and implement? So yeah, I guess that'd be a great question for Eric.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Thanks, Paulo. So the first thing we did was, and this is kind of how we do everything, is we didn't follow anybody's playbook. And that's not to say that everything we're doing is unique to us or we invented it, but we really think about whether we want to do it because it's the right thing for Viva, or it's just a buzz thing, and what everybody's doing, right? And we always lean towards, if it's the right thing for Viva, we'll do it. So that actually maybe slows us down a little bit because we take the time to think through things before we just go ahead and push it out because it's trending on LinkedIn or Twitter. But it ends up being the right choice for us. So having that lens of understanding what we're about and what our teams care about and leading into that helps with the cynicism. And I'm a little biased, but I also think we have really good people that are open to this. So I think just taking the time to make sure you know yourself, you lean into your values, and having that guide your decision making is paramount, and not following trends. Because at the end of the day, this isn't rocket science, right? It's about creating an environment where anybody can come to the table and work and earn their spot, regardless of their background, what they look like, whether they're man, woman, or non-binary. And that's it. But there's a lot to unpack to get to that. But we just always have to remind ourselves that the end goal is a very difficult one to get to, but it's kind of a simple concept, right? It's something that should exist already. So we lean very heavily into that. We try not to be judgmental or beat people over the head with buzzwords and terms, and we really just focus on the fundamentals and lean into that. And there's a lot of repetition and discipline that's required to it to make it stick, because culture doesn't change overnight. But that's kind of what we've been doing so far, and it's been working for us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And yes, great question, Paolo. I see a question now, and I'd be happy to take this one. So the question is, what is Viva doing to offer their employees, to keep morale boosted and to keep, I guess, to boost and keep employee morale. So let me just answer it or read it specifically. So there's a lot of things Viva does, I think, and I'll talk a little bit about what Generation Viva does. So we have, and it varies within our programs. For example, within EDP, we do usually monthly, maybe every other month, but monthly fun events. And we like to keep things really fun. And that's one of our values of Generation Viva. So they get together, they used to get together in person pretty much every month to do something, like whether it was going and like playing bocce ball or go-karts or something like that. Now the pandemic hit and that changed a few things. So now things are being done more virtually, and sometimes they get together and do like virtual game nights, for example. So we've still, since the pandemic hit, we're still doing it, unfortunately, it has to be virtual right now to keep everyone safe, but hopefully one day we'll get back in person. Another really big thing that we did pre-pandemic, we will hopefully get back to it again next year, is something called GV Connect. So it's where we bring all of our new grads who are in Generation Viva. And we do one in the US and then one in Europe for our European folks. We bring them all together for essentially like a 4-day weekend. You fly out to somewhere on a Thursday night, you have a big social networking event. You get to hear on Friday from a select panelist of our leadership team, including our CEO who comes on site. We have more of a develop the person type day on that Friday. And then Friday night's another, dinner, social event. And then Saturday is the fun event. So one year we did whitewater rafting. Another year we did like mountain climbing and mountain biking and things like that. So we like to do things on the extreme side too, I guess, to challenge ourselves on the fun events too. And then we have, another big kind of farewell, final goodbye dinner that night as well. So it's a fun kind of 3-day event. So we did that pre-pandemic, and we're hoping to get back once it's safe again to doing that annually for our folks that are in Generation Viva. So those are just a couple of examples, and we will continue to look for ways. And, I think, and Tyler may mention this, but there's smaller communities too. Like one of our R&D CDP teams here in the US created a CDP social committee, and they just launched it. They did it. They do things on their own. It's another employee-driven community that they did for themselves. So there's a lot of different ways that we like to keep things fun here at Viva. Yeah. So next, let's see. We'll do one more question here. So, what are some of the ways that Viva ensures mental, physical wellness? And it says, and to be more broad, maybe some of the panelists. So maybe the panelists would like to answer how you keep yourself kind of mentally stable.
Yeah, so I guess from a formal perspective, we do have programs in place for employees that they can take advantage of, specific to mental wellness, that affords you a certain amount of session with a professional or a counselor if you wanted to. But from a less formal perspective, I think a lot of what Sarah just shared from a morale perspective helps. So we've always been a company that had large teams that were remote. So we always had tools and different things that we use to try to stay connected to one another. And through that, we have a lot of dialogue around what works, what doesn't, right? From the kind of fast-paced work environment that we have. Now, more recently, we've had more intentional conversations around this, especially with COVID, the pandemic, and everything that everybody's dealing with, and parents having kids at home while they're working, right? So there are groups that have spawned from this that talk to one another and share resources. There was even a program where older kids of Vivans were tutoring younger kids of Vivans through Zoom. So there's like a big community kind of based initiative or effort that happens almost organically, right? From just being used to communicating the way we do and being the types of teams that we are. And I think also on a personal note, just having a more structured workday when I can, even though I'm working from home, that really changed things for me years back when I started doing it. So trying to have a beginning and an end, trying to have a bit of a routine, even though I'm not in an office, is really helpful.
Oh, excellent. Dana or Tyler, would you like to add anything to that?
I would add just also, blocking your calendar as well. So I often block my calendar just as a mom. In the morning is, parent time. So, boy meetings. And I tried to block my calendar to step away to do lunch as well. So that would be one thing I would recommend, especially in this remote environment, is to kind of just make sure to block your time. And I echo Seb with, I feel like with remote, honestly, you work more because you just can easily just come down, out your bed and start working. So you definitely have to learn to, block your time as well too, for sure.
Great advice. And Tyler, did you?
I wanted to say the fitness reimbursement program that Viva offers is really cool. Last year or this year earlier, like January, I participated and then I bought a bike. So that was pretty cool. And then I think our flexible PTO is really something that allows you to have physical and mental wellness because, you need a couple of days to regroup. You can do that and you don't feel like, it's a bad thing for you to do. So I think that's something that helps us with our mental and physical well-being.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you. And I just want to say thank you so much again to our panelists. Let's see. First of all, thank you. I guess, yes. Thank you so much to our panelists. You've shared a lot of really great insights today. If anyone is interested in learning more about Generation Viva, you can learn about it on our Way Up site or on our Generation Viva site. So viva.com/Generation Viva. We'll tell you a lot more about what offerings we have available. If you have any general questions, you can always email generationviva@viva.com. And anyway, yes, so thank you all for being here today. It was a pleasure to have everyone here, and it was a pleasure to be a part of this panel today. So thank you, Dana, Eric, and Tyler for sharing your insights. And thank you for Anka for all the facilitation efforts. And thank you to Way Up for hosting. Hope you all have a great rest of your day and hope to hear from you all soon. Bye.